Yo, what's good everyone? Raiden's getting a rerun in a few days and a lot of you picked Dehya for anniversary. Fortunately for you, they both work together with Raiden covering a lot of Dehya's weaknesses. Here's the logic. Raiden and Dehya will yo-yo between each other, dealing on-field damage during the other's downtime. The other two characters, and there are a few options we'll talk about later, give some support. Let's talk about Dehya first and then Raiden. Dehya's raw burst damage isn't amazing, but it gets some buffs from this team. Firstly, Raiden's skill at level 9 is going to give you a burst damage buff for 30% of the burst cost. With Dehya's burst costing 70, that means Raiden's skill buffs Dehya's burst by 21%. Chevreuse shreds the opponent's resistance to Pyro and Electro by 40% after triggering Overloaded. It's also worth noting that what you're seeing here is a C0 Chevreuse. Her C1, if you have it, gives extra energy, her C6 gives extra elemental damage to the on-field character, and her other constellations increase her own damage, which isn't negligible. What I'm saying is this team's ceiling is higher than what you see in here. Dehya's burst is also split scaling, so some of the burst damage scales off attack. This means she benefits from the attack Chevreuse's other passive gives, the attack from the Pyro Resonance, and the attack from Sara's skill. It just makes Bennett's absence less noticeable. You could even give one of the supports for Natlan Cinder City 4-piece to buff the team's Pyro and Electro damage by 12%. If you're using a Natlan support, which we'll talk about later, that'll be 40% instead of 12. Now we've talked about Dehya, let's talk about Raiden. Dehya's burst costing 70 is quite high, which is a problem in other teams, but it's a benefit in this one because it gives Raiden more resolve stacks for her burst damage. Basically, when you press Raiden's skill, it shows a purple ring behind the character. As you consume energy, the ring fills up with a mechanic called resolve stacks. With a burst at level 10, she'll get 0.2 resolve stacks for each point of energy consumed, or if it's easier to understand, 2 stacks for every 10 energy consumed. She can get 60 max, so with Dehya's burst costing 70 energy, using Dehya's burst is going to give 14 stacks straight away. The more stacks when Raiden eventually pops a burst, the more damage a burst will do. Simply put, high burst cost for the team equals good. She also gets 2 resolve stacks from a passive every time a teammate collects an energy particle, which can be triggered every 3 seconds. With this team having a bit of playtime before Raiden's burst, as opposed to other teams that just pop everything quickly and switch straight into Raiden, she'll get more stacks here. As I'm sure you know by now, Raiden's normal attacks during a 7-second burst window charge the team's energy. This is useful to Dehya because it allows you to take off a 4-piece emblem for a 4-piece Vorukash's Glow. You're essentially trading 20% energy recharge for extra HP from the 2-piece, which makes Dehya even tankier and deal more damage, as well as more skill and burst damage from the 4-piece. Unfortunately, I don't have a 4-piece Vorukash's Glow yet, so I'm still running 4-piece emblem, but that's just another example of how this team can get even better than what you see in here. Both Raiden and Dehya have downtime after their burst, so running them together covers each other's downtime. If you ask a theory crafter to put Raiden's best teams into a spreadsheet, this one won't come out on top, but it's still strong enough to get 9 stars on floor 12 as you see in here, and is definitely my favourite of all the teams. In terms of the other 2 slots, I do think even a C0 Chevreuse contributes a lot to this team. Given a 4-piece Cinder City will contribute even more. If you don't have it, you can just use Bennett. He'll be a little bit comfier, but with the team already getting so much attack, I find Chevreuse's Elemental Shred to be more useful. Shalonen will also be useful in this slot when she comes out in 5.1. She'll heal for a lot too. She reduces opponents' resistances, and she can give 40% elemental damage to the team from the Cinder City 4-piece, as opposed to just the 12% a non-Natlan user will give. For the other slot, I like Kujou Sara, but only at C6. Basically, with a C6, she's going to increase Raiden's crit damage by 60%. She's usable without it, but she may be a downgrade to some of the other options. Also, if she's holding LG for the end, she's going to give the team elemental mastery and attack. Alternatively, you could give her a standard crit weapon like Skyward Harp, or even an energy recharge weapon like Sacrificial Bow. Just be aware of the fact that the weapon's base attack contributes to her attack buff. While a weapon like Favonius Bow might seem tempting for the particles, the low base attack will bring her value down. Go with 4-piece Emblem for a personal damage, or 4-piece Noblesse with your other support holding 4-piece Cinder City. If you don't want to run Sara, maybe you feel bad not having a C6, Xiangling's always an option, and a C1 will reduce the opponent's resistance to Pyro for Dehya to deal more damage. Yaimiko's also decent for extra resolve stacks and keeping the Electro Resonance. Fischl's always a good choice too, but she isn't going to contribute too many resolve stacks and won't benefit from Raiden's burst buff. To be honest, I'm kinda hoping we'll get a Natlan Pyro or Electro unit who can slot in here. I think an off-field unit would be best because Dehya and Raiden already take most of the field time. Then with them being from Natlan, they could give us the full benefits from a Cinder City 4-piece. I dropped a Dehya guide recently if you want more teams for her, and I'm going to drop a Kanich showcase when he releases. I might even do a Kujou Sara guide because people seem to have forgotten about her. In that guide I'd showcase her as both a support and a DPS. Leave a comment if you'd be interested in that one, subscribe to the channel, and take it easy.